If you work in tech, you've definitely heard of Scrum. You probably use it every day. But what if I told you its entire philosophy, its very soul, wasn't cooked up in some Silicon Valley garage? Nope, it was dreamed up by an architect, a guy obsessed with how cities and buildings actually feel. Today, we're going to dig into the secret origin story of Agile, and it starts not with code, but with concrete. So it really all boils down to this one question. At first glance, building a sprawling city and coding an app seem like they're from different universes, right? But deep down, they share this hidden blueprint, a philosophical connection that explains why agile development works so darn well. And to really get it, we need to take a trip back in time.
All right, so to find the answer, we have to meet a truly visionary architect named Christopher Alexander. Now, this guy wasn't just interested in fancy buildings. He was obsessed with what made places feel alive, what made them feel whole and just deeply, truly human. Alexander's big idea, the one that changed everything, was something he called organic order. He was completely against those rigid, top-down master plans where some genius decides everything in advance. Instead, he believed that the best designs, whether it's a huge town square or just a cozy front porch, they aren't forced on people. They grow, they adapt, they evolve, piece by piece, based on the real lives of the people who actually use them. Think about it. They're less like machines and way more like living things.
But you might be asking, how do you actually do that? How do you create this timeless way of building? Well, this wasn't just some vague, fuzzy philosophy. Alexander laid out a clear set of principles, a toolkit really, designed to make this kind of organic growth a reality. So these 6 principles, they all work together. Organic order, that's the end goal. And the way you get there is through participation, which means the users, the people, they get to make the decisions. Piecemeal growth, building one small, manageable piece at a time. Using proven patterns that work. Constant diagnosis, which is just checking in to see what's thriving and what's not. And finally, coordination, that just kind of emerges naturally from the ground up, not forced from the top down. And this, right here, is where our story takes a really fascinating turn. Because these brilliant ideas about architecture, they didn't just stay on the blueprint. They made this massive, totally unexpected leap right into the digital world. That's right. Get this. When the first pioneers of agile software development were struggling, stuck in these rigid, slow, inefficient processes, they didn't look to other programmers for the answer. They looked to Christopher Alexander. They saw his work on cities and buildings and had this light bulb moment that this was a better way to build complex digital systems too. And the proof is right there in black and white. You can literally trace the intellectual DNA from Alexander's groundbreaking books like The Timeless Way of Building straight to a Scrum book by Jeff Sutherland and James Coblian. This isn't just some happy coincidence. The Scrum book explicitly, by name, references Alexander's work and directly lifts his concept of patterns to solve common problems in software. The connection is undeniable. Okay, now for the big aha moment. When we put Alexander's architectural principles right next to Scrum's core practices, you'll see just how deep this connection really goes. It's not just similar, it's practically a direct one-to-one translation from one world to another. Just look at this. Alexander's piecemeal growth, that is the very soul of sprints and incremental delivery. His idea of diagnosis, that is exactly what a team does in a retrospective. Participation, well, that's just a fancy word for stakeholder collaboration. Patterns are the repeatable frameworks of Scrum itself, and coordination is that magic that happens in a self-organizing team. It is the exact same philosophy, just spoken in a different language. And let's just zoom in on one of these to see how identical they are. Alexander said we should continuously evaluate what thrives and what fails. What does Scrum tell us to do? Regularly inspect and adapt to the process. Come on. The wording is a little different, but the spirit, that deep commitment to constantly learning and getting better, it is 100% the same. So this connection isn't just some cool piece of trivia. It's way more than a clever analogy. It actually reveals this shared fundamental belief about how we create really valuable things in a messy, complex world. It's all about a bigger pattern of thinking. This single quote right here gets to the absolute heart of both Alexander's architecture and the Agile movement. The point isn't just to deliver a finished product, whether it's a building or an app. No, the ultimate goal is to empower the people who use it, to give them the tools to shape their own world and solve their own problems. And ultimately, that's the shared genius of it all. Neither Christopher Alexander's approach nor Scrum gives you a detailed, step-by-step blueprint. They don't pretend to have all the answers up front. Instead, they give you a framework for making smart decisions along the way. They trust that if you give skilled, creative people a good process and a clear goal, they will create something far, far better through constant iteration and adaptation than anyone could have ever planned from the start.
So all this leaves us with one final pretty big thought. If these powerful patterns for building human-centered systems can jump from architecture to software, where else could they go? Seriously, forget the official labels like Scrum or Agile for just a second, and instead ask yourself this: what are the timeless patterns of participation, of gradual growth, of honest diagnosis that could totally revolutionize the way you build things?